All right, everybody, we're going to get real with you right now. We heard you all like top 5 lists, so we decided to put a top 5 list on top of your top 5 list and give you an all-new top 5 list in your top 5 list. Word. I used to like that show.
Yeah, it was pretty entertaining.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Geeking Poetic Podcast channel. I'm one of your hosts, Larry Roberts. Down the way, around the corner, just waiting to club you right over the head if you act out of line. It is none other than
Vito.
And then the damsel that causes distress.
Not.
You do if you want to.
Okay, maybe a little.
Yeah, a little bit. It is none other than
Megan, yes.
And we're here to finally, at long last, do our top 5. Not the top 20 to 16, not the 15 to 11, not the 10 to 6, but the top 5.
We made it.
Yeah, we did. We finally made it. Like running montage. Yeah. I don't think any of those made it into my top 5.
No?
No. Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if it made it into yours. Knowing you. You do like those kind of movies. But yeah, no. Top 5 favorite, personal favorites movies of all time. How do you guys feel about this? You've had a little bit of time in between the last one and this one. Do you still, looking at your list, do you still feel good about it?
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, these are
without a doubt.
These are concrete. Okay.
You?
Yeah, I think so. There's only one movie, and it's the one that when I made this list, I was vacillating back and forth until finally I was like, okay, enough. I just made the decision. But there's one movie, and it's actually my number 5. That one could have changed with a couple of other movies that were in the 6 to 10. But, it's fine. It is what it is.
It's in there.
It's in there. So, yeah. Fuck it. Without further ado, let's not waste any more time because I know we've got a lot to talk about.
We do. Let's do it.
All right. So we are going to go with number 5. Zowie.
Feeling alive.
Yeah. Number 5 is alive. Oh, God. That is definitely...
Damn, I forgot to put that on my list.
Dude.
Honorable mention.
I don't know if I'd say I hate Short Circuit, but I really dislike Short Circuit.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
So good.
Oh, no. No. No.
Boy, here we go.
I'd have to watch it again. I haven't seen it since I was probably in my 20s or something like that. But I know when I was a kid, I all these other kids I knew, they were like, that movie's great. I'm like, that movie fucking sucks balls. God, that movie's terrible. Give me like Explorers,
Explorers is good.
Or Last Starfighter or something.
That's not good.
What? You don't like The Last Starfighter?
Dude, no. Terrible movie.
Oh, shit. Well,
I see how this is going to go already.
Megan's like, give me Mac and Me.
Jesus. I can do Mac and Me. I mean, it's pretty funny.
Wow. This doesn't bode well, folks.
This does not bode well at all.
All right, well, we're going to do like we did with the other ones. We'll start with Vito, then Megan, and end up with me. So, Vito, what is, I got to know, because I have no idea what your top 5 is. What is it?
Well, before we get to what it is, let's ask some questions about what it is.
Okay.
Who is he? What is he? And where does he come from?
I don't know.
Robocop,
God, I was
1987.
going to say Robocop.
That makes sense. Wow, it's only number 5. Damn.
Dude, this list is primo, man. So it's, yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
folks, let me just state for anybody that may be like new to us or doesn't know, I like Robocop and Vito are sort of like,
One.
yeah, they're kind of.
I mean, it's behind Megan there.
Right,
on the wall,
exactly. I mean, there's
Where is he?
Robocop
There he
stuff. There's Robocop stuff all over this place. So to only make number 5, wow. Okay, well, tell us, man.
So I saw this at a very young age, which you probably shouldn't watch at a very young age because this movie is incredibly
me.
violent. Yeah.
It's grim.
And then I saw like the unrated version, like the director's cut, which is even worse.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So the thing with this director, Paul Verhoeven, is he likes to take violence to the extreme to make it almost a parody. And that's his whole shtick. And it's very The whole movie's kind of a parody about society, and it's very satirical, and its representation of society in the future and commercialization and stuff of products. It's an incredible piece of film. It almost never got made. Even the director didn't want to make it because he read the title. He's like, Robocop. Wow, that sounds like a shitty ass movie. And he threw it in the garbage, and his wife ended up reading it and is like, hey, no, you should actually listen to this and read it because it's actually a really great story. It is a great story, and that's why it's number 5 out of 20 for me.
No, it's a great story. Robocop, man, it's a fucking classic. You know what's interesting about that movie is it's another one of those ones, which is a case of a lot of your movies, but some of mine too, and well, all of ours actually. I hadn't really thought about this until now, that a lot of our top 20 movies are ones that when they came out, it's not that they were, not to say that they weren't successful in a way, but they weren't like highly regarded movies. You know, think about you with things like Labyrinth or Beetlejuice even and stuff like that. Like they did well, you know, to varying degrees, but now they're considered like absolute fucking classics.
Classics, yeah.
And that's kind of how Robocop was. Like when Robocop came out, I mean, I was older obviously than you, so I was a teenager when that came out, and that was right in my wheelhouse, you know. And I remember we liked it, me and my buddies liked it, but it was one of those things that people were sort of like, oh, you know, that was like, oh, that's just determined to be like a Saturday night pizza and a movie rental for, you know, 16-year-olds kind of thing. It's not going to go beyond that. Now, dude, Robocop is huge. Didn't they make a fucking statue of it and shit?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, they erected an actual, like up in Detroit or something, wasn't it? Yeah.
Because that's where the movie's based out
Right.
and stuff. So.
Right. So, I mean...
Yeah, because, dude, I was young because I remember distinctively watching Robocop 2 in the theater.
Right.
And they came out in 1990, and I was only, eight?
8.
Maybe even 7 or whatever when it
Wow,
came
you
out.
were
So
real young.
Yeah, and it's not a movie for a 6 or 7-year-old to be watching, man.
No. Well, again, that's another trend in all 3 of our lists, isn't
But
it?
it had robots, so I think that's what kind of got me into it. Ed 209 is such a fucking badass in that movie, you know.
It was a different time.
Yeah, the 80s, I mean, they made toys specifically for kids for like Aliens and Predator that were super violent and were not for kids at all. But
Oh, dude, yeah.
Yeah, they couldn't do that now.
no.
No, it's a totally different kind of thing now. Although now it's just video games.
Yeah.
But everything's more scrutinized now. They wasn't scrutinized like that back then. They were too busy worrying about rap and heavy metal back in the 80s. They weren't, you know, like, oh, my kid can't buy that Motley Crue record, but I just let him get a ticket to go see fucking Robocop
Right.
2. Like, nothing bad could come of that, you know. Oh, that's a great choice, man. Yeah, okay. I'm just surprised. I mean, I'm not surprised it's in there. I'm surprised it's at number 5. So, when you just hold on to your fucking hernia belts, folks.
We're in for a ride.
Yeah. Megan,
Yes.
what's your number 5?
My number 5, I went with a flagship,
Okay.
1981.
Yeah.
The flagship movie, Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah. That's well, I mean, gosh, we've talked about that movie
So
plenty.
much. I really don't have anything more to say other than it's a fucking amazing and I love it.
Yeah.
It's definitely a go-to for me. Fucking Harrison Ford. That's all I gotta say.
Alfred Molina.
Throw me the idol, like give you the whip. Yeah. Oh,
It's
man.
just, you know me. I love the action adventure, and then you throw in a couple like history in with it and stuff like that. Got me hook, line, and sinker. I'm in.
A little bit of that.
Treasure hunts.
Yeah, and a little bit of that kind of salty romance kind of
Yep.
stuff.
Mhm.
Because you
the
like
rugged man that you
and
can
the
fall in love
and the
with.
feisty woman, very romancing the stone and all that
Yep,
shit.
fuck
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm seeing a pattern now. after hearing this list of yours, it's like, oh, okay, it's all coming together
Yeah.
now.
You know how to hook me.
Yeah, that's a great movie. Now, obviously, you guys were way too young. Well, you weren't even. Vito wasn't even born yet when that movie came out.
You said
I was
81,
one.
right?
Yeah, 81.
81. Yeah. So you were like a
I
infant.
was in diapers still.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I saw it at the theater multiple times and everything. Did you guys ever get a chance to see it in a theater?
No.
Oh, wow.
But if it's ever in there, we're fucking going.
Dude, it's so good in a theater. I mean, obviously we've seen it hundreds of times, but if we get the opportunity, I think we should, just because It's such a cool experience seeing that movie in the theater. It's made for that. It's one of those movies that's made for that. I mean, you could probably say that about all the Indiana Jones
I was just
movies.
going to say, I hope they do like a whole trilogy. I'd even do number 2. Sit through that screaming.
Yeah, number
Just
2.
to see all 3 in the
even
theater.
though number 2 is a bit of a number 2.
Yeah.
It is.
It's, you know what, though? It's funny because I loved that movie when I was a kid. I loved
Really?
Temple of Doom. Saw it at the theater the week it came out and everything. Loved it. It just hasn't aged well.
No.
But Raiders is timeless.
It really is. And I enjoy number 2. I just don't enjoy her constant screaming, which is funny because as a little girl, I was constantly screaming. My dad was like, Jesus Christ, stop fucking screaming. It was my thing. That's what I did.
That's kind of funny. You must have got it all out of
I
you
did.
back then because now it's like we're like, Megan,
Do
talk.
something. Stop sitting there.
Like she's just glaring at everybody, not saying.
Yeah, now I just stare at everybody. And they're like, what?
screaming
I was
in her head.
conditioned at a young age not to say anything.
I know.
She's like, now I just scream in my head all the time. It's funny. No, I obviously,
I'm like, bitch, I'm the screamer, not you. Stop screaming so much.
yeah. But yeah, obviously all 3 of us I know agree with Raiders because it's just one of the all-time best movies.
It is, and we did our own little spoof of it. It was
That's
amazing.
Still
top of our.
That's still
theaters.
one of my favorite things we ever did.
Yeah.
That came out so fucking good. Folks, if you get a chance, go, maybe Vito can we'll add a link or something.
Yeah.
If you get a chance, go back. It was one of the very first things we ever did for this channel was we did a spoof of Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's really dumb.
It's amazing.
But
It's amazingly dumb.
it's amazing.
Like all of our teasers are.
Yeah, we need to do some, I really,
I
especially
want to do a follow up.
Yeah,
with
for
summer coming up and everything, we should do some sort of like follow up. Yeah, we got to start brainstorming. I could just imagine. But anyway, that's a great choice. All right. Well,
What about you?
appropriately enough, my number 5 is a movie that was created and everything by one of the creators of your number 5 movie.
Yeah.
It wasn't Steven Spielberg.
No.
It was the other guy, the other bearded guy. And it is a movie that came out in May of 1980. I'm going to give you one guess what it is. Nothing. Come on. I know
You
you
didn't give
guys
us our guess yet.
say
Is
it.
that all that bullshit? you're
Empire
getting?
Strikes Back.
There you go.
Oh.
You weren't going to get it, were you?
Hell no, I was going to get it.
Of course it is. Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, I mean, and this is the one that I went back and forth on because I was like, I mean, for a lot of people, they're going to be like, Larry, it's fucking Star Wars. It's Empire Strikes Back. Of course it's in your top 5. But for a long time, I was like, I don't know. You know?
This is the one you were him and Han about.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, because there's other movies that I think had as much or more of an impact on me. Possibly. It just depends on the day and when you ask me, you know, because I didn't put, like, I could have put Excalibur in that spot. Because, I mean, Jesus, do I love that movie. Like, and how important it was to me and a couple others, you know. But you're looking at me incredulously.
Because we just had this conversation, Vito, Robocop all over his house.
Right.
If you saw this man's house, it is nothing but Star Wars. So how could it not be in that top 5?
It's a weird thing, me and Star Wars. It's like, I don't know what it is. It's like, yeah, it's like I'm just automatically, it's almost more like habitual than obsession, because people would think like, oh, Larry's obsessed with Star Wars. And it's like, not really. I don't really watch it too often anymore. I mean, I've seen it enough times in my life. It could just play in my head easily. But it's not one of those things that I really obsess over, you know, or you know, out of all the Star Wars movies, Empire is definitely my favorite. But it's not one of those movies that I'm like, oh, I get this super hard hankering to watch anymore. But I can say that about some of these other movies in my list where it's like
That's fair, I guess.
I more frequently watch them and feel like a connection to. But here's a caveat. Being honest with myself, I thought about it, and why I ultimately made it my number 5 and put it up there was because I think that it's more of a case of burnout, because I just think that I've been so overexposed since I was 7 years old to this movie and to Star Wars in general that I feel a little bit consciously numb to it. But if I really am honest with myself, it's what you just said. It's like, dude,
give me a fucking break.
It's fucking Star Wars. Come on, man. You would be excited to go out in the snow right now and play with your Imperial Attack Base play set. And, now in my 40s. And it's like, yeah, I would. Yeah, that's true.
Totally.
You know what I mean? So, they're going to release Empire Strikes Back to the movie theaters. It's like, I'm there, I don't think I need to give any kind of other backstory about this movie and my choice and everything. It's Empire Strikes Back. Any serious Star Wars fan out there is going to sit there and say like, oh yeah, okay. That makes sense. It should be in there. So that's my number 5. I still remember standing in line with my mom at River Oaks movie theater.
Yeah.
Summer, May 25th afternoon or whatever it was, standing in line for like an hour or something, waiting to get into that theater, hearing people talk about the movie. I heard these kids in front of me talking about Yoda and that he was this weird little green monster. I got all worried. I was like, oh no.
Oh no, what is this?
This movie going to get all scary on me and shit? Because
all right. Yeah, because Yoda didn't come in till Empire, right?
Right.
All right.
And they kept him under wraps. Like you didn't know what the figure looked like. There were no early
Kinda
leaked
like Baby
photos.
Yoda?
Yeah, like Grogu. Yeah, they kind of did the same thing. It worked both times, man. But yeah, I heard these kids talking about it. Yeah, I heard a story about this little green monster Yoda, and like Luke goes to this creepy planet with blah blah blah, and I was like, oh shit, like
I don't know about this.
what did I get myself into? Because I was only 7, or just barely 7. Everything, and then I watched it, and I was like, "Oh man, come on, Yoda's cool." I walked out of that movie being all about Yoda, like every other kid back then. I was like, "Yoda's awesome! Can't wait to get a Yoda figure." All right, that's a pretty good 5.
Solid 5, yeah.
All right, well then moving on to number 4.
It's pretty metal.
That was pretty, pretty sorecore right there. All right, Vito. So. Your number 4. What is it?
So this one's from 2000.
Oh, recent.
It's about a mission to another planet. That planet happens to be Mars.
Yep.
This movie is called Mission to Mars.
Wow. That made it into the top 5. Holy shit.
Above Robocop.
Fuck yeah.
Holy shit.
I know, that's crazy.
That is crazy. That's crazier than my Empire Strikes Back bullshit. That's crazy.
The reason it's above Robocop is I've never wanted to become a cyborg police officer.
Well, that's your fault.
That's your shortcoming. I don't know.
Exactly.
But I have wanted to go on a mission to Mars, so this one...
And there you go. And open and shut case.
Seriously.
And we're done. Thanks, everybody. Good night. See you later. No, shut up. Just kidding.
And I've been obsessed with Mars and the face on Mars and thinking, what if an ancient civilization did, evolve and live on Mars? Like, what would happen if we met them? And this movie answers those questions, and it's done so incredibly well, except for some of the CGI at the end of the movie. But the whole storyline of this team goes to Mars, disaster happens. One guy gets trapped on there for close to a year, if not more. Another team goes to rescue him, and they find him disheveled and just doesn't know what's going on, almost borderline psychotic because he's been alone on a different planet for the last year and a half or whatever. And it's just an amazing story how they come together, go to the face on Mars, find out what happens, and you get this whole story about life and how it interconnects, and it's just awesome. And there's one of the greatest touching death scenes I've ever seen in this movie. And I'm not going to spoil it for you guys, but it's incredible.
No, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
That's like one that I would have been like, oh, that'd be like Vito's number 9.
19
or 12 or something like that. Not like, this goes past like Child's Play 2 and RoboCop.
That's insane.
That's fucking crazy. But
it appeals to my sense of wonder and adventures.
There you go. Well, okay, there you go. Fair enough. No, that's a cool movie, but wow. Okay. Sorry, I don't even know what to say. I'm like so dumbfounded by this. But,
Speechless.
yeah. It's cool that it's such like a recent movie too, because I know so many of our movies are kind of like older, 90s and back and stuff. So
Yeah.
I have one movie from the same year that made it into my top 5. So see, not all 21st century movies are bad. There's at least one for each of us that's good. Cool, Megan.
I went with a 1996 movie. Speaking of 90s,
Okay.
I love this movie
Oh boy.
so incredibly much because I grew up in Oklahoma,
Oh, here we go, Vito.
dodging these things left and right, hiding in storm cellars, hoping somebody doesn't get sucked out of them.
Mm-hmm.
I always wanted to chase them,
Okay.
of course. And it's a little teeny tiny movie called Twister.
It's Vito's favorite movie.
Vito fucking hates this movie.
I'm just not into weather, so that's why. I'm sure it's a great movie if I sat down and watched it and really paid attention. I'm sure it's wonderfully made. Whenever it's a movie about weather, I'm just like, nah, I don't want to watch it. So.
Interesting.
And I guess it appealed to me again because I lived in Oklahoma. I dealt with these fucking things all the time.
Right.
And you think I'd be sick of them. But they're fascinating. And I would love to be a weather chaser and go chase these fucking things all over the place.
Study them.
Yeah. But stuff up in them so it sucks it up.
Driving some crazy truck with like all this contraptions, like
With cows going around,
Yeah.
man. Yeah.
flying cows.
We
and-
got cows.
Yeah. And
We got another cow. I think that's the same cow.
yeah. It's definitely a Megan movie. Let's put it that way.
Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton.
It's a great cast.
Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Dude.
Great music.
Oh, yeah. We
talked about the
We talked about the
soundtrack.
soundtrack. Yeah, really cool soundtrack. One of the best Van Halen Hagar era songs is in that soundtrack. Yeah, I love that. Real heavy. No, it's a great movie. Yeah, it makes sense. I guess it kind of applies in the same way that you with your Mission to Mars thing, where it's like, well, I've always been interested in Mars personally, and you kind of relate to it personally because you lived
I want to
it.
run towards Stager.
Yeah, particularly out in the middle of a field and
Oh, if I could drive through a cornfield,
dude,
that'd be fucking amazing.
wow.
I'm totally doing it.
Oh no. And don't call us when you either find out you've got like engine trouble, stuck in the middle of a cornfield,
Stuck in
the mud in a cornfield with a fucking funnel nearby. Be like, guys, can you come get me?
I can hide under a bridge and hold on to it.
That'd work. That would work because in the movie it worked real well.
It
So
did.
I mean, it's got to be plausible, right?
It is. It's exactly how this shit works. That's what they tell you. Go hide under the underpass. That's what they did.
Dude, Bill Paxton and Helen Hunt survived being in the middle of a fucking level 5 cyclone with a belt attached to a pole.
It wasn't a pole. It's water lines. They go they're way down in there. They're not going anywhere.
Irrigation lines or something?
Yeah, okay. I wasn't questioning the fucking irrigation line. I was questioning
The strength of that belt?
the belt.
It's leather. It's very sturdy.
Tell that to the cow. Jeez.
Well, that's not leather yet.
Wow.
It's hide.
It's like
It's a difference. It's still stretchy then.
this movie brought to you by Von Hagar. It's like, but anyway, there's some seriously implausible 90s shit that happens in that movie, but it's fun.
It is fun.
Yeah, it's a fun movie.
And I love it. And I will watch it every time it's on.
Okay. All right.
Even if it's on Vito's house.
Poor Vito.
I have one of those parental blocker things on my son.
Is that why I can never find
Yeah.
it?
Wow.
That's all making sense.
Well, my number 4 is a movie that came out in 1977 because I'm all about them 1977 movies and stuff.
Mhm.
Now, a lot of people might sit there and think 1977, that's when, first Star Wars movie came out, Well, I'll tell you right now, in case you didn't know from the spoiler I gave in previous episodes, there's only one Star Wars movie in this list, and that was my number 5. So, nope, there is actually a sci-fi movie that beat out Star Wars for me. And that movie is by Mr. Steven Spielberg and is none other than Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh, That makes sense.
because it's one of the greatest cinematic accomplishments ever fucking made. The movie's so good. It still looks good. I mean, yeah, you watch it now and it's dated, it's of its time and stuff. But generally, I mean, dude, when you watch that scene when the mothership first comes over Devil's Mountain, Devil's Tower and everything, and it fucking flips, it's like you watch it now and you're like, fuck, that still looks amazing. The way they did the scale of it and everything. And I love the fact that this movie isn't heavy on those special effects. It's like a very human story. And it's very tense. You really, especially first time you're watching it, you really don't know, and multiple times, like where it's going to go. You don't know who's like a good guy and who's just going crazy and all this stuff. And then when you get to the ending where he finally finds the secret base, spoilers, he finds the secret government base on the other side of Devil's Tower in Wyoming. And you realize like, oh my God, like we're going to get this big payoff here, because you never see the aliens through the whole movie. There's all that sort of, you see, the times like when the little kid Barry and his mom are being pursued by the aliens and stuff, coming through the air vent and everything. It's always shown from the aliens' perspective. So you never see a hand, you never see anything. You never even really get a good look at ships. You just see lights and stuff. So throughout this whole movie, you're just kind of like, there's no payoffs here. And then the ending, you get like this big payoff. And it's not just like a special effects extravaganza. It's like really moving and very important to Roy's story, Richard Dreyfuss's story and everything. And then the fucking soundtrack, again, stuff we've already talked about, that fucking soundtrack, I submit that's John Williams' finest hour, is what he did with that, especially in as much as music is so integral to the story, because the aliens use those notes, musical notes, as like a language and stuff to find a mutual that's like they don't understand each other and talking, so they talk through music. And I'm like, and of course I'm all about that. So absolutely amazing movie. I never get sick of watching this movie, which is rare.
Yeah.
And I've seen this movie a lot.
I don't know if I've ever actually seen it.
Yeah, I've never seen it from start to finish.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Still?
I tried a couple times. I just kept falling asleep.
Oh my God. Now, look, granted, it's kind of a long movie, and it's especially at certain points, it's very slow paced. I get that, but yeah, it pays off. This movie is just kind of like, it has like this kind of big, what the fuck, start. And then it's like this very slow, kind of going over the top of the hill. And then as it goes, it gets faster and faster and faster. You know what I mean? So you get the big payoff at the end. It's great. I really recommend you guys watch it sometime, because
because you don't ever not talk about it.
I think it's the greatest sci-fi movie ever made. That's saying something, because I like a lot of sci-fi, there's some amazing sci-fi out there. So, all right. So that's my number 4.
All right.
Vito, the big trace.
Are you going to do our thing?
Yeah, I can. You want me to do that? You want me to do a little sound effect thing?
I do.
All right. How about 3?
All right. Now, Vito.
Watch it go. Woo.
This is a movie from 1986.
Okay. Oh.
And it's about a bug hunt. And this movie is called
A Bug's Life?
No, I think that was 1996.
Oh.
Arachnophobia?
No, I think that was 1990.
Yeah, right about. Yeah, 89, 90. Okay.
Snakes on a Plane?
No, that was
It's not a bug.
99.
Yeah, I don't
That's
think
true,
snakes are bugs. I think none of the things we brought up other than A Bug's Life was actually about bugs. Spiders are not bugs. They are not bugs.
They're bugs.
Okay. Anyway.
They're nasty.
I call them bugs too, yeah, because I don't like bugs. But this movie is called Aliens
Yeah.
by good old James Cameron.
Yeah, that's a fucking amazing movie.
Fuck yeah. So, okay, what more to say than a creature who has concentrated acid for blood, so no matter what you do to try to escape it and defend yourself, it's going to kill you in the end, because it's going to splatter you with acid.
We know you love an acid death.
I do.
Oh my God, does this guy love acid deaths?
And this movie doesn't have that many what I would call acid well, I guess there's a couple acid deaths, but it's not what I would call one. It's more of like I died as a side effect of the acid. It doesn't literally melt your body in an entire one scoop and it's done. So, but this movie has incredible weapons, incredible action, incredible characters, and an incredible cast that lives up to this day. And I love that it's all like practical effects that are just incredible. I love the ship designs in it.
Yeah.
The drop ship. It's an incredible movie. The military aspect of it is really awesome. And just the idea of these military Marines in space going to eradicate a species because they've just taken over a colony that this corporation knew about, but deliberately sent the colonists there hoping that they would get infected by this organism so they could bring it back and profit on this bioweapon.
Right.
That's in fucking genius.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, I could see that happening.
Yeah, that would never happen in today's world. No, dude, yeah, what a movie. Because I really love the first movie, but the first movie is like a completely different animal.
It's basically like a horror movie set on a spaceship,
Right. The completely different animal, the pacing of it, the tension. I mean, that first movie's tense, but a different kind of tension. Aliens is like, yeah, I mean, fuck. I think it's probably, for me, that's probably the best, like, sci-fi monster, whatever you want to call, I don't know what you would call that genre, just sci-fi monster movie. Like, again, while I say the first Alien is more horror, but that's more like terror, horror, suspense, whereas this is like action. It's got everything in it and stuff. Yeah, I think this is the best one. I don't think they've copied this many times.
And other franchises have tried to copy this movie. I just saw Godzilla vs. Destroyer from like 1989 or something like that, and they totally ripped off this movie, dude.
Yeah.
Really?
Like, verbatim. Like this team went in to go hunt for Godzilla, and all these little creatures came out and attacked them. They all had like motion trackers. It was like, dude, you're totally ripping off Aliens.
Yep.
Carnosaur 2 did the same thing, but I digress.
You're like, Carnosaur 2 did the same thing, but it's Carnosaur, and Carnosaur gets a pass because it's fucking Carnosaur. I know if you folks know about Vito and his Carnosaur love. Now that belongs in the top 5, especially for you. Yeah, definitely.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's a great one. Yeah, I love that movie, and I used to have all the toys. I have some of them still. I think I gave you some of mine.
You did. I think I've got the Queen up there.
Yeah,
I
you
think.
do. Yep.
She
Yeah.
is.
But I used to have more, and it's still popular. It's real popular these days. They've got all new. They made toys for everybody in that movie.
Damn.
And all the ships and all the different.
Nice.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I can't even get into all that, but it's real cool. No, that's a great choice. Have you ever seen that movie all the way through, Meg?
I don't know if I have. If I have, it's been a really long time.
Wow. Yeah, that'd be
That's a good
one
one.
worth watching sometime. That's a good beers and pizza and watching a movie fucking.
And I got to meet Lance Henriksen
That's
a couple
right.
years ago, and he was like the nicest guy in the entire world, man.
Awesome.
Nice.
He was so cool.
Yeah. I wish I could have met Bill Paxton,
Yeah, he was on my list, man.
dude, because he just seems super fucking cool.
But I did get to meet Michael Biehn.
But that's right. You did.
Yeah, and he signed a quote from this movie on my picture of him.
Nice. Awesome. All right, Megan,
Yes.
you're number 3.
Mine's pretty obvious. It's 1978.
Oh, is that one that I talked about already?
It is. We kind of already talked about it. So it is 1978's Grease.
Yeah.
Olivia Newton-John and John Travolta.
Yeah. And a cast of many others that many other
amazing people.
names and
Actors.
stuff.
Again, another one I grew up with. I just idolized. I wanted to be Sandy, be this shy, quiet girl, and then turn into this badass. Well, that never happened, but that's what I wanted to happen. I'm still working on it.
Yeah. We all are.
Right. And then John Travolta, I mean, come on. Fucking amazing. Ugh. What more do you want me to say?
I remember how giddy you got when we met him, or we didn't meet him, but we saw him at that convention a couple years
That was
ago. You were
so
like, oh my
cool.
God, it's John Travolta.
I was going to meet him too.
Yeah.
I was going to do it, and then they sold out.
Yeah.
Him not too long.
That was a lot of money.
It was a lot of money. It
We're like,
saved me a
Megan,
lot
you
of
sure?
money.
I mean, that's
I was like, I'm doing it.
But again, here's the thing. If you're going to pay that kind of money, have it be somebody like that, you
Yeah.
know? Like,
That's a heavy hitter for me.
yeah, don't pay like, $200 because you're going to meet Gorgeous George from the WCW or something like that. It's like, I mean, maybe some people are like, hey, it's like, hey, if that's what floats your boat. But yeah, I mean, if it's something like, yeah, I mean, I guess like, I'm not, me, I'm not that big on meeting people. I don't really get into that whole thing. I think it's cool for you guys. I like seeing you guys meet it, but for me, I'm just like, okay, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I guess it'd be like me if I got to meet Olivia Newton-John, because I'm a fucking huge fan of Olivia Newton-John. So that's like the kind of thing where it's like, well, you can meet her, but it's going to cost you like $200. It's like, that seems fair. Yeah.
I was ready. Had my card out and everything. I was ready. I was on my way there.
And they're like,
Vito's
girl,
pulling on me. He's like, stop, you shouldn't do it. I was like, I don't care, let go, Vito.
and then it was
going.
too late.
Yeah. And you were off doing comic books or something.
Yeah, I was.
Left Vito to handle me on my own.
Yeah, you tell me I'm going to go spend $200 on comic books, and it's like, well, duh. Easily, it's hard. I got to talk myself into not doing that because, I don't need any more comic books. But, well, how I already talked about this movie. That it's one of my, it made my
and the
top
era,
20.
the 1950s. And I just love it. It's something intriguing to me, and I love the music.
The soundtrack is stuck with me more even than the movie has. I mean, I'll watch the movie. I watch it now and then. But the soundtrack is what I go to the most because I love 50s music and stuff.
I agree.
And it's got, stuff written on there by the Bee Gees, and I love the Bee Gees.
Can't go wrong with Bee Gees.
Disco and 50s music. I'm all for it. Well, I'm a kid of the 70s, man. I mean, that's what it was all about, So, anyway. Nice. All right. I agree with that. Well, my number 3 is might be a surprise to some people. Be like, oh, wow, I wouldn't expect that. But my number 3 is not a surprise to you guys. Okay. It's a movie that came out in 1980. It's a movie that stars Christopher Reeve. But he's not wearing a cape.
Oh.
He's wearing a pocket watch.
It is. He has a very important pocket watch and a bowler hat and a pinstripe suit that was 10 years out of date. It is this time travel movie that we've talked about before called Somewhere in Time.
Very good movie.
I
agree. That's a great choice.
And I'm not going to go on and on about it because I've talked about it so much on the show before. But yeah, again, soundtrack, I still listen to that soundtrack a lot, all the time. It's a constantly playing one because Rachmaninoff is amazing. John Barry's score is amazing. It's just, it's incredible. Yeah, it's great. And then, of course, Christopher Reeve is one of my favorite actors, especially as Superman, but even other stuff he did. And Jane Seymour is one of my favorite actresses. And I love time travel stories. And I love the idea of dreams and whether, and so this movie just ticks all those boxes. Incredible score, incredible cast, incredible time travel stuff, incredible dream related kind of stuff, afterlife related stuff, like all the things that it's like, that's what I'm into. So
a perfect movie.
Yeah, it didn't have any toys or comic books or anything tied in. So I guess that's the only thing that doesn't tick those boxes. But for this movie, I don't need it. So yeah. So if you're into all that kind of stuff and you haven't seen, this is another one of those movies that did not do well when it came out at all. This movie really didn't do well. Some of that was because there was a strike in Hollywood going on, like a writer's strike and everything. Oh. And so actors and directors and writers were prohibited by the guild and everything. They weren't allowed to go out and promote the movie. So like there was no like going on Johnny Carson, with Jane Seymour and Christopher Reeve to promote it. They couldn't do it. So this movie just sort of slipped out there. But the benefit of it was because it did that, it wound up on pay TV and cable like right away. So the movie was out probably by, whatever it was, early mid 1980. And within a couple of months, it was on cable and stuff. So, and that's where I saw it.
Like a lot of movies right now.
Yeah.
They can't get out there and promote them.
Yeah.
Can't go to theater. So
it'll be interesting to see if there's any kind of similar reactions to movies where like things that came out recently and just sort of didn't have a lot of fanfare if they pick up steam. I've noticed that with movies like that Birds of Prey movie that came out, the Harley Quinn movie. It came out last year during just at the start of the pandemic and everything. And what's funny is you didn't really hear that people talk about that movie too much, but then I've talked to a bunch of people that I know that are like, oh, dude, I saw it. That's like my favorite movie of 2020.
Wow.
Like, yeah, it was a really cool, crazy, fucking over-the-top psychotic movie, you know, like it's totally sick. So I watched it and I didn't love it, but it was like, oh, this was entertaining, you know, like it probably deserved to be much more popular than it was. So yeah, we'll see, you know, maybe it'll have the same effect, but anyway, yeah, that's how it was for Somewhere in Time. And thankfully it's still kind of considered a cult movie in a lot of ways, but it's a great movie.
I agree.
Okay. All right. Moving on. We're getting down to the final two, the final battle. You know, this is like
the bread and butter right here.
It's just like Street Fighter versus X-Men, you know, kind of thing. Like we're really getting into it. We are at number 2.
Ooh.
Yeah. See, number 2 deserves that kind of like, ooh, ah, kind of thing. So, no, it doesn't. I had to go with it. That was just the sound effect I chose. So, and Vito, you're number 2.
It's a movie from 1994.
Okay.
Has to do about traveling to another world.
Okay.
Using technology that the government has acquired. Has its roots in ancient Egypt. It's a magical ring with chevrons.
Oh.
It's a movie called Stargate.
Wow. Stargate the Movie is number 2.
Stargate the Movie is number 2.
Holy shit. I wouldn't have called that one I wouldn't have made that one. Like if I was writing this list trying to guess, that would not have been above some of these other ones. Wow. I
would have replaced that with Total Recall.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's where I was going with it at first.
No, because he did. That's what I was like, he did Recall already.
Yeah.
So.
Interesting.
This was like a life-changing movie for me.
Interesting.
So at the time, so I grew up religious, and this movie kind of like flipped all that on my head because I was like, wait a minute. There's these aliens that are impersonating themselves as gods and controlling people to do stuff. And I was like, that's interesting. And that led me on a path of like researching otherworldly, whatever topics that were outside of the teachings that I grew up in. So it was kind of a weird like paradigm shift for me at that age because I was only like 12.
Right.
And that I think that might have offset my like fascination with aliens and Egyptian lore and Egyptian visuals and stuff like that. So
Gotcha.
I attribute this movie to that. And that's why it's at number 2 at the spot it's at, you know.
Oh, I never thought about this movie being the thing that ticked your box for the Egyptian thing. That makes sense though. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay.
And I wanted to be Dr. Jackson where like you had this theory that no one believed you about, but then all of a sudden you were fucking vilified because you were right the entire time. And these alien creatures really did do all this stuff. It's just, it's a fascinating subject. And I still get goosebumps to this day when I watch him deciphering the message and the symbols and be like, we did it. We cracked the code. And they opened the gate and I was like, oh my, dude, even right now I'm like feeling goosebumps because it's such a cool event, man, to think that if that actually happened, I would go through that gate in a heartbeat.
Yeah,
wow.
Absolutely you would.
Yeah, I mean, as you're explaining it right now, it all makes like perfect fucking sense to me, but it's just I wouldn't have expected that. Like, I don't know, like you don't talk about Stargate as much as the other stuff. Wonder why that is.
I don't know. I guess it's more of a...
It's just ingrained in you.
Yeah, I guess so.
Kind of like me with the Star Wars thing.
I guess so, yeah. And I was really, really big into Stargate Sg-1, the TV series that happened like 97. That was a spinoff of this movie. But yeah, this movie, dude, is just so incredible. It's one that I'll always watch no matter what time of day it's on. I got to sit there and watch it wherever it is. You know?
Right. I haven't seen it in years. That's what we need to do. We just need to do like a total... make a list of like all these ones that we... talk about that we wax poetically about, geek poetically about, and watch them together because man, I haven't seen that in years. Did you ever see Stargate the movie?
I have, yes. I really enjoyed it. I don't remember a lot about it though.
Yeah.
That doesn't surprise me.
It doesn't.
You forget everything.
I do. I watch it like I don't know what happened.
Yeah, we do. We
Like,
do
immediately after. Like
we do reviews of TV shows. We watch the episode that night, and then we go downstairs, and it's like, okay, we're going to talk about this episode. And then Meg's like, I don't remember what happened. It's like, we just watched it, Megan.
I just watch it for entertainment. I don't watch it to like digest it. Which makes me really bad at doing this stuff. But
And then everybody yells at me, and it's like, that hairy guy's talking too much. He's trying to like take it away from her. And I'm like, I am trying to keep the boat from sinking.
he really is, guys. Give him a break.
And then she keeps me on track, with stuff, and is like, stay on course,
Come on.
Larry, And you're forgetting about it. It's like, oh yeah, okay. So it works out well. But anyway, sorry. Yeah. Speaking of going off track, Stargate. So.
And I must have owned this movie on VHS, DVD, HDVD, Blu-ray, the Blu-ray special edition. I must have owned this movie like 5 separate times.
Nice.
I don't know why, but I just kept buying it.
Because it's your number 2 favorite movie of all
Seriously,
time?
that's why.
And
That's all you need.
That's what you do, man. Who are you talking to? I'm sure there's plenty of people out there that are like, I get it.
I'm even in the middle of reading the Stargate sequel book that came out like the year after this movie.
Oh.
It has
nice.
nothing to do with the TV series, so there's a lot of stuff that like doesn't make sense to me because, oh wait, they didn't do it in the series, but the series didn't exist yet, so they're going off the lore from the movie. So
But wasn't that like some of the controversy when the series came out, if I recall?
I think so.
Because a lot of people were like, wait a minute, you're like straying off of, it's kind of like how people feel about the expanded universe stuff from Star Wars, Like, what do you mean this is it? What about these books? It's like, no, we're disregarding those books. It's like, God damn you. So, yeah, how do you feel about this book so far?
It's interesting because I don't know if it's that well written because the aliens that are like raw species, they talk like modern day humans would, and it's like, no, they wouldn't talk.
Yeah.
It's just very odd.
Kind of lazy.
Yeah, and right now, like a military engineer group has gone to the planet from Stargate, and now they're going to force the workers to mine the minerals for them, and they're going to try to pay them in American dollars. Try to convince them that this is going to be the new currency on their planet. And I was like, wait, what? It doesn't even make any sense.
Okay, now I'm starting to understand why
Why they just let that go.
why SG-1 was what it was and not that. Yeah, that sort of makes sense. Oh my God. Wow. Okay. Well, maybe I won't read that.
Yeah. I don't even know if I'm going to finish it, to be honest with you.
Oh gosh. All right. Well, Megan,
Yeah.
what's your number 2?
I went with the newer movie.
Okay.
I went with 2004
Oh.
National Treasure.
Oh,
Okay.
of course. Okay. God, I
I
forgot.
thought you was going to say National Lampoon something. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's weird. Came out in 2004.
There's,
Yeah, that one.
There's no good National Lampoon anything that came out in 2004.
No.
No. That makes sense. I forgot that wasn't already mentioned in your list. Okay, that makes sense.
Number 2, I love all those movies.
Mm-hmm.
But the first one hooked me. Nicolas Cage, Diana Kruger.
Right. Who played the father? Was it
John
Voight?
Voight? John Voight,
Yes.
yeah. John Voight. And Sean Bean's in it.
Right?
Does he
Yeah.
die?
No.
Not really.
No, he goes to jail.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He dies in prison?
No.
Did they behead him?
Yeah. He actually does not die in this movie. It's like the one movie where
Yeah.
he doesn't die, but he's the bad guy, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Again, everything is you got a treasure hunt, you got history put into it, you got a rugged guy, you got the funny sidekick. I love
Yeah,
him.
you are about the funny sidekick shit. Wow.
And
Yeah.
the badass girl that knows all the information.
That ends up in a romantic tryst with the rugged guy. Yeah, there's
Yep.
you really
I
do
got a
have a
thing.
style.
I really do.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I mean, again, yeah, ticks all those boxes. So, and I just adore it.
You're the kind of person, right, that you like if you get like if you see some kind of like old piece of paper, some old like it could be an old book or some old something, you're like wondering if it's got secret like maps printed into it and stuff like that, aren't you?
Yeah.
She's got a vial of vinegar she carries with her to make sure there's no like invisible ink or something.
Yeah, with some like squirt some lemon juice on there with a hairdryer. Yeah.
Oh man.
I'm not sticking it in the oven.
Yeah.
It's too dangerous.
No, I love this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love this movie. It's such a great series. I'm really excited that they're supposed to be bringing it back and carrying on with it. It's like way overdue.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm excited to see how they do this. Don't mess it up.
they're probably going to mess it up. They always do.
They are.
Well, you never know.
We'll see.
It could be better.
They should get James Rollins to write it.
Holy shit.
That would be good, huh?
That would be good. I would be definitely all in. I don't care if it's shit after that.
Well,
I'm in.
You know what's interesting is I feel like what happened with National Treasure was like, because not too long after that was when they started coming out with things like the Tom Hanks
Da
series,
Vinci Code.
Da Vinci Code.
I love those.
Right. And I feel like those.
Yeah, you throw church in there too, I'm in.
Yeah, I love Catholic like mysteries and stuff like that. Those are really
Absolutely.
good.
But I think that those sort of like usurped the crown, you know what I mean? Like it was like National Treasure, like people were really into those, and then Da Vinci Code and stuff came out and everybody was like, oh no, wait, like this is what we want, is more like this, a little bit darker, more serious
exactly.
and everything. And then poor National Treasure was like, oh, what about us, you know? Like, you know.
I have a feeling it's going to have a huge cult following.
I think
Give
it's
it more time.
I think it's starting to. And I'll be honest with you, I mean, even though I love the Da Vinci Code and stuff, I prefer National Treasure.
Me too.
I would be more likely to sit down and watch National Treasure again than Da Vinci Code. Da Vinci Code, unfortunately, with those movies, is it's like once or twice kind of thing, and then you're sort of like,
I'm good.
it's good. But yeah, like I know where it's going, so it's kind of spoiled. Sort of like Sixth Sense, you know? It's like you don't need to watch that movie again because
You already know how it goes.
Yeah.
the twist is spoiled. What a twist!
Big twist.
So, all right, my number 2. This one is not going to come as a surprise to anybody in this room. Movie that came out in 1980. It's about as campy as it gets. Has an amazing soundtrack by the band Queen. And it's a movie called Flash Motherfucking Gordon. Yes, folks,
Oh,
Flash
Lord.
Gordon is my number 2 favorite fucking movie of all time.
Wow.
And
That is ridiculous.
that movie is great. I love that movie. I love that movie. That movie is like, just like what you guys bring up and stuff. Like, that's the movie that for me, when I was 7 years old, I was just like, oh, this is just like everything I want out of life. Like, I want to, like, I want to be Flash Gordon, like I'll play football and then get like kidnapped on a rocket and go to a fake planet and have a couple of chicks fighting over me and like have to battle with whips and rocket cycles, and there's Hawkmen and lizard people and Clytus with that stupid Dr. Doom mask and his tongue sticking out when he gets the spikes through him. This spoke to me on every fucking level. All right. Plus, it's got the soundtrack by possibly the greatest band of all time next to the Beatles, which is Queen. Probably my favorite guitarist of all time, Brian May, who was the guy who mainly composed and created the soundtrack for that movie. So amazing. Every time, almost every time that I work out, I listen to that soundtrack as part of my workout playlist because I still want to be Flash Gordon. It's just great.
So when you're running on the treadmill, that's what you're listening to. It's like, I'm Flash Gordon. I'm fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense now.
Not even trying to be funny. It's, pretty much. Look over next time you see it, and I'm probably watching the scene. I'm probably
taking
watching.
video next time.
I'm watching the scene when the Hawkmen and Flash on the rocket cycle take over Ajax, the Ming's ship and everything, and they have that, and they play the battle theme music. Dude, fucking awesome. That makes me, I will go and just start beating the fuck out of everybody in that gym. At that point, I'll be fucking swinging around poles and doing flips. I'll be doing all that shit, man, because I just love that movie. And, it's got its cult, like, serious following. And, it's one of those, people either are like, that movie rules, or people are like, that is the dumbest movie ever. I am on Team Rules, man. I I love that movie. The more I thought about it, because even at first when I was making this list and I was like trying to figure out where to put Flash Gordon, I was like, okay, where am I? You know, I had it further down, and then the more and more I kept thinking about it, and then I watched it again, and I'm like, no, man, this almost was my number one favorite movie of all time. The look that Vito just got on his face. Almost. And then I was like, okay, no. Like, simmer down. Like, you gotta reel it back a little bit. You know, it's the greatest. I love it more than Star Wars. I love it more than Star Trek. I love it more than Marvel. Yeah. Flash Gordon, that would be like my Desert Island movie. Vito was like, oh.
You hit us with some stunners in this one.
Yeah. I got some interesting tastes, you know, I'll tell you.
We usually give Vito a hard time, but fuck, dude.
No. I think Vito's are pretty good. Some people might question that mission to Mars thing, but no, I get it, man. You know, when I've got things like Somewhere in Time and Flash Gordon and stuff, yeah, and there's similarities, man. They've got a scientist there. They got Dr. Zarkov. That his same thing. He gets ousted by NASA because they say his theories about the alien invasion and all that stuff are outlandish. And then he comes to find out it's right when all that hot hail starts hitting it. And he goes, "I've been right for all these years." And everything.
Hey, Arnold.
Yeah, no, it's fucking Zarkov.
Peter Russian?
Yeah, whatever he is. He's from the Eastern Bloc. He's from the Eastern Bloc somewhere over there. Fiddler on the Roof, you know. But that's what he played. My number 2, and I'm standing by it, man.
Okay.
With that, you know where we're at? We're at the big number 1.
We're actually here, guys.
We made it all the way to number 1. I don't think Vito's is going to be a big surprise.
I'm not even going to try to make a joke and go with some stupid movie that you guys be like, really? I was never, because you guys know too, because I bring it up probably every single show. Maybe with the exception of, I think maybe 2 shows we've done, I've never brought up Terminator 2, but other than that, it's always been in there. So
yeah, so just talk about it. Vito's number 1 is
Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I mean, you guys know this by now if you've listened to our show.
How many copies of this movie do you own?
Not as many as you'd think. So I own it on VHS. I've got like this VHS box set that has like T1, T2, and like a special making of thing. Then I've got the T2 special edition on DVD. And I do not actually own this on Blu-ray, so I only have it twice. And I have the soundtrack on CD.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know what we're getting him for his birthday.
Right? That's an easy.
Because doesn't the Blu-ray have like a bunch of extra shit that's not available anywhere else?
It might, but the DVD I have has a shit ton of extra features on it. So I don't know like if there's anything new on the Blu-ray. So.
Okay. It might be worth looking into.
Yeah.
It's T2. Did you see this at the theater?
I honestly don't remember, to be honest with you. I distinctly remember renting this from the library all the time, but I don't think I saw this in the theater.
Of course you rented it from the library.
Yeah.
If people don't know, Vito's whole world comes from renting things. That library, like if Vito ever became a billionaire, I think he would erect a monument to that library.
I would, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not
Buy
kidding.
that library.
I would probably construct my own library and just pump it full of like the stuff that I would rent from the library.
That's a cool idea, actually.
That would be a unique library.
It would, wouldn't it?
That'd be great. Can you imagine if we could make our own library? Man,
like the educational value would be like this, but then the entertainment value would be like that much. It'd be like the complete opposite of what a library should be.
I don't know. I think a lot of the stuff we're into is actually pretty damn educational. I think we'd have a cool library. So
fun tidbit, I used to rent this tape from the local video store so much that the guy was like, listen, man, you guys rent this like almost every week. Why don't you try a different movie? And he did give me a different movie to rent, which shows up in my honorable mentions. So we'll save it for that.
Okay.
But,
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So why is this your number 1 movie?
it's got time travel. It's got robots. It's got liquid metal robots. It's got a kid that has a cyborg that protects him from a robot trying to kill him from the future. It's so damn cool, man. I just love time travel and robots, and like this is that movie.
Gets into end of the world stuff.
Yeah.
Deals with the future. It does have almost everything.
Messed up death scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's got incredible action, arguably probably the best action scenes that were ever created at the time it was released.
Yes.
I mean, you might feel that it still does, but I'm just saying I think it's less arguable. I think when that movie came out, that was just like that was a holy shit movie. People were like, holy shit, this movie is just everything about it, the way it looked, the way it sounded. Soundtrack's great.
Oh, yeah.
Guns
Brad
N' Roses,
Fiedel, dude.
all that.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
And it paved the way for a lot of special effects that came after this movie that had not been done before, you know?
Yeah.
James Cameron was just, I mean, he's got to be one of the, if not the greatest, one of the greatest directors of all time.
Oh, yeah.
He makes such incredible films that go on to do billions of dollars in revenue. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, it's like when James Cameron does something, it's like, okay, it's total, like, go monstrously big or go home.
Yeah.
Right.
It's crazy.
No holding back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll never make like a small indie film that's like a mumblecore movie. It's like, no, dude, it's not going to be that.
No. I mean, yeah, that's your number one is no surprise to anybody that knows you, and rightfully so. I mean, it's one of the greatest movies of all time. Period.
Yeah.
So nice, man. Megan, I have no idea what your number one is.
Well, this is where we were talking about last episode. I kind of broke the rules because I couldn't not break the rules.
Okay.
I went with 1989, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Wow, that's your number one movie of all time.
Yeah.
All right, tell us. I mean, it's not my list; it's yours. I mean, no, it's a fucking great movie. You know, I love that movie.
Sean Connery.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, 007 himself in it.
Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. Yeah, no, I mean, it's weird because I think it's a more entertaining movie in a lot of ways overall. But for me, like if I was going to make it, for me, it would have been Raiders.
Yeah. I don't know. This is my go-to. If I'm going to do Indiana Jones, I would rather watch Crusade because I love the tank scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
where he's on the horse and he's caught. He's going to die. And then the tank goes over here and they go, ah! It's amazing. Right? It's great.
I love the fact that whenever Megan explains movies, it's never like, well, there's this scene. It's never like this breakdown. It's always done in sound effects. It's like this movie was great because this guy was like, whoa, and then the chick goes, and I was getting and I could only stand so much of the, and then this other thing happened and went. And it was how can you not love that?
But you totally know what she's talking about.
Oh,
like,
you're like,
yeah.
I totally know what she's
I'm not so good with my words.
So I
do my lame sound effects, okay?
No, it works. It works for you. And I get it. We know exactly what you're talking about.
You got the hot blonde where she's like, oh, look at me.
Elsa. Yeah, I had a big crush on Elsa.
Oh, yeah. She's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but she chose poorly.
Yeah, and you got the Grail, the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
And the Knights. Seriously, the Knights thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
that was awesome.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Line sinker.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Again, this is why it's good to do this. Just like with Vito explaining like things like Stargate taking me for such, making me so surprised. I apologize because I would not have jumped to the conclusion that would have been your number one movie. But now as you're explaining it and I'm thinking about the movie, I'm like, oh, of course that's her number one movie. No, I mean it, like, because it's got everything. It's got all those Megan elements.
Mm-hmm. It's got the romance, the treasure hunting,
history.
You got the church stuff into it.
The action
the Knights of
stuff.
Templar
and then when
the
you
action,
count,
you got the romance, you got the comedy where
right, it's got your
she's
kind
like,
of comedy.
So sleeps with both the dad and the brother, and then they're like, what,
Yeah.
and they're on
Dude,
fire.
That stuff totally went over my head when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, of course.
I was like, she talks in her sleep. Huh? That's interesting. I wonder what that means. And then later I was like, oh yeah, she totally boned both of them. I didn't realize.
Right. And then on top of it, just the cherry on top of all of that for Megan is it's Harrison Ford.
Boom.
Right. So it makes complete sense that is sort of like
Put a fork in me, I'm done.
right. That is sort of like the acorn from which all the other, your Romancing the Stones and your other things,
National
your National
Treasures.
Treasure and all that kind of stuff.
Night
Like
at the museum.
they all kind of come out of the seed that was
Harrison Ford.
and Indiana Jones particularly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, makes sense to me.
That's my solid number 1. Forever and always.
Oh.
I got this VHS tape, Last Crusade, from a McDonald's Happy Meal, because back in the early 90s, they would run these deals where if you bought some kind of meal, you get a VHS.
Yeah.
I got Dances with Wolves one time. I got Last Crusade. And I think Back to the Future 2 was another one, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Boy, you got a lot out of them Happy Meals.
And I distinctly remember in Indiana Jones, in Last Crusade, I always remember this because I would play basketball at that time in grade school, and I had a game that night, so I had to stop the VHS tape at exactly the point where Donovan goes to those Arab guys and tries to buy him off with those Rolls Royces. And I had to stop the tape there and go to my basketball game, and I always remember that scene for that reason.
Isn't it weird how certain things imprint in you? I have that too. I totally have that too. Yeah, that's funny. I can remember, where I first ate my first Impossible Burger. Of all things. Anytime I drive past, I'm like, oh yeah, that's where I got my first Impossible Burger was from.
That's the vegan burger from Burger
it's like,
King?
yeah, or like, yeah, almost, yeah. It's like, who knows, man? Obviously, you've heard my top 5 so far, and you know I'm very strange. So, no, I think your guys' choices, your number 1s, are super fucking solid, and both like great movies that I would sit down and watch right now if we had to.
Okay.
So my number 1, probably won't surprise you guys. I know it won't surprise people that are closest to me and everything, but it's one of those ones that really kind of strays from all of the geeky stuff so much, but it definitely appeals to the core of me as a musician and everything. And it kind of goes in line with what you just said about remembering things and how you correlate things with movies. And it is a movie from 2000 by Cameron Crowe. It's called Almost Famous.
I knew it.
Yeah. It's one of those movies where it's like, it parallels aspects of my life for better or worse in a lot of ways. It's the life that I always wanted to lead, but unfortunately, this movie takes place in 1973. I was born in 1973. So, obviously that wasn't in the cards for me, but this is the world I always wanted it to be. And unfortunately, by the time I was old enough to live this life, it's very different. It's one of those movies where I can not only just generally relate to the whole thing because it's about musicians, struggling, in the face of stardom, which we don't have stardom.
No.
But we've tried to attain it to a certain degree. But, just about everything. There's so many things that happen in that movie that I'm like, God, I can relate to this. And again, in good ways and bad. There's stuff that, I relate to in a wonderful way. There's other things that it's like, oh, that's frustrating. But I relate to so many different characters, not only the main characters and the band and stuff, Russell and Jeff and all them, but also William Miller, the kid, that and everything. Cause I'm like, well, I was that kid too, in a lot of ways, I love to, that's why I do this show. It's cause I love to talk about things and delve into stuff. And I'm the guy that watches every music documentary and reads every musical biography and autobiography and magazines. How many books and magazines do I have in my house, Meg?
Shit ton.
Like a ridiculous amount. Ridiculous. And that's mostly what I read most of the time is that stuff. Even at my age, I'm still interested. So here it is in movie form. Plus there's really cool relationship things that go, like relationships between people, like family relationships, interband relationship stuff. And I don't just mean like, romantic and everything. There's a little bit of that in this movie too with Penny and Russell and stuff like that. But I mean, to me, it's a perfect movie. And I loved it when I first saw it. And then shortly thereafter, maybe a year later, if that, they came out with what they called the Untitled version, which is like an hour longer. It's a really long version of this movie. And it's perfect. It's one of those where I'm like, they should never, I get why they had to cut it down. They should never have cut it down because none of the stuff they added back in do I go, that didn't really need to be there. Everything needed to be there and made it infinitely better of a movie. And the original movie was great. I mean, it won Academy Award, and everything.
Oh, wow.
So, the original movie was great. This it's perfect. It's one of those ones that, and I say that about a lot of these movies, like, oh, I'd watch it all the time. I could watch it now. This is one of those ones that I don't know if there's ever a time where it's not on, or if somebody wants to watch it, there's something that I'd be like, nah, you know what I mean? It's just ingrained in me. I own it in every format, every version of it. I own the soundtrack. I have the limited edition, very, very rare, untitled version of the soundtrack on double vinyl that's worth a lot of money. It's the only movie on my list, and only movie at all, that I own actual props from the movie.
Say you have that prop of it.
I have the movie, I have the record album cover. They pressed up fake album, because there are no actual Stillwater Band albums, but they pressed up like album covers for scenes like in the concerts, and there's scenes where fans are running up, and I own one of the record album covers, man. It's fucking awesome. Yeah, I actually own one of those. I own like a bunch of promotional things that only went out to industry insiders of like, special shirts and things you couldn't buy in store. I'm really into this fucking movie. And I saw this movie when we were traveling with the band at the time. And I was kind of at a low ebb in my life because of personal things that were going on. And the band this was before you were even in the band. And the band was starting to really like do something and everything. We were starting to travel. I think I saw this. I was in Worcester or something like that. I think that was the show. We were in New England, and I saw it while I was there. I didn't see it in the theater, unfortunately. I saw it on demand. And me and Joe, our old drummer, watched it because he had seen it. He was like, "Oh, you got to watch it. It's great." And I watched it, and I think it was just like the right movie at the right time in my life, in the right place, and everything. And it was like, it made me like really go, okay, yeah, this is what I want to do. Because I had joined November's Doom, without getting too long-winded into this, I had joined November's Doom kind of tentatively. I don't know if you ever knew that. Like, I had to really be talked into joining this band.
I think you guys sort of mentioned that.
Yeah, I had to be sort of talked into it because I had basically given up on playing music with any kind of seriousness at all. And
it'll do that to you.
Yeah, it's still. But I had kind of given up, and I was doing the geek thing. I owned my comic book and toy store, and and then I got married, and that was a whole fucking thing, and that didn't work out and stuff. And so, and I lost the store, and I was doing our band, but I was sort of not really thinking about it in terms of anything super serious. I still sort of felt like I was just kind of going along with it a little bit. And I saw that movie, and that combined with all the changes and losses I had in my life at the time and everything, and me getting that feeling I got from that movie of like, it reignited like, oh, this was why you started doing it in the first place. Like, this was that, and that movie is all about this. That movie, they talk about that. They talk about that feeling that music and playing music and seeing music and being in the business and around it. Sometimes it's terrible and horrible things happen and people act like assholes and they take advantage of you. But the overall thing is like, there's this like feeling that it gives you that breathes life into you, and it helps you, get through. And it was like, that movie sort of like, it literally almost was like a light switch in my head. I was like, oh, I remember now. Like, this was why I started doing this in the first place. A lot of this other stuff is bullshit. This was why I started doing it. And then that was when I took a bigger role in the band in terms of writing music, really getting involved in it, stepping up and not just being the new guy, because at the time I was still kind of the new guy, and everything. And so it's very personal to me for that reason. I'm sorry I went on this long thing, but it is my number one. So, but yeah, so I still, when I watch that, obviously I've seen it a bazillion times. I don't need to watch it again, but when I watch it, there's still elements and parts in there. I mean, that whole scene, I know it's cliche. It's the scene everybody remembers from that movie, but the Tiny Dancer scene with all of them on the bus singing Tiny Dancer by Elton John together and everything, and it's been spoofed and stuff so many times now. But like that scene, like at that point, there's all sorts of personal bullshit going on. The band's sort of breaking up. There's personal issues going on. The kid, William, the kid, is all afraid, like everything. And then they sing that song together, and there's this camaraderie, and and that just exemplifies the whole thing of like, this is the thread, this is the fuel, this is the life, you know what I mean, that it breathes into. This is why everybody's here on this bus, is because of this music and what it does. We might be fighting, there might be all sorts of crazy shit going on and things are falling apart, but then they come together in that song, in that moment and everything, and it sort of, it just heals and brings everything back together. And I'm like, that's why I did this in the first place. That's why I started playing music, was because of the camaraderie and the friendship, because I finally had friends. I finally had a life. I finally had a goal and a purpose in my life. Because up to the point when I started playing in bands when I was in my early teens, I had no idea what I was going to do. I had nothing, you know what I mean? So it helped reignite that. And at least for a little while, things went great. It could be worse, man. We're still doing all right.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, all things considered, we still do all right, and I'm very grateful for it. You know, but I always think about that, man. You know, and times when we've been on a bus trapped in a alley that we can't navigate through in fucking Germany. knocking the mirrors off the tour bus because our tour bus driver decided to go down this alley, and he's like, "Oh, I don't think we can fit."
Punch it, Ingo.
Yeah. And we're literally knocking the mirror. We hear the crush. We hear the mirrors being ripped off the bus, but we got to go because we got to be in Czech Republic the next afternoon, and just crazy shit like that, and all the different things we've had, and different incidents, like, you know what I mean? It's like when you go through that, it's stressful, but then I think, you know, it's like, that's the thing, you watch that movie and you're like, oh no, it's all great. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't trade it for anything, because it's so dumb that we live this life, but this is our life. So that's why this had to be number one, and Flash Gordon just had to take a back seat. So sorry, everybody. They're like, Larry,
that makes sense.
Larry, you go on and on and on. But, you know, this is my probably one chance to really talk about this movie, because we're not a music channel. We're working on that. We're working on that idea. One of these days, we're working on that. But I'm interested in hearing some of these honorable mentions. I know we're already getting close to like an hour and a half here, but I think we got time for honorables. So
yeah, just a couple, Vito.
Yeah, Vito, I'd love
just
to
a
hear
couple,
yours.
Megan.
Just a couple.
I think I have more honorables than
I
think I have more honorables than I actually do 20s.
Well, you can list them.
Yeah, I'm just gonna listen. I'm not gonna actually talk about them, but so all right, we got Contact.
Yeah, great movie.
Nemesis, which is the movie that video store guy recommended I check out when I kept running Terminator 2. So it's about cyborgs and stuff like that.
Oh, well, there you go.
Hard to Kill with Steven Seagal.
Dude, was there any Seagal movies on your list?
No. I know.
Oh, my God.
I know.
Whoa. Folks.
This is a hard list, man.
Yeah, it sure as fuck was. Okay, go ahead.
Curse of the Puppet Master, which people are going to be laughing at right now, but yeah.
Oh, you love your Puppet Master. You like your full moon.
I do. Interstellar. That's probably the newest movie, I think.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
That could be an honorable mention for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Dude, that definitely is. Have you ever seen that movie, Megan?
I don't think I have.
Oh, Megan.
Megan.
It's one of the greatest superhero movies ever made, in my opinion.
But it's not just a superhero movie. It's not just a superhero movie. It's like imagine if a superhero movie was combined with Sherlock Holmes, Last Crusade,
Victorian mythology,
and like National Treasure.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's so up your alley. You need to see this
really
movie.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
The Hunt for Red October.
Yeah. So all the Sean Connery movies
much.
made. Yeah, because Sean Connery's in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Okay.
Yeah.
He plays Alan Quatermain.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Ooh.
Carnosaur 2, which I brought up earlier.
No. No, I would never. I can't believe that didn't make it into the top 20, to be honest with you.
Me too, but you know this list. Misery.
Misery. Good one.
That's a good one.
Predator 2, not Predator 1, but Predator 2. Yes, I said that correctly. Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. Yes, you heard that correctly as well.
People are like, Jesus.
And we've got The Shadow starring Alec Baldwin, which is another great comic book type of movie. Yeah.
Didn't we watch that in a restaurant in Spain?
We probably did.
I have this vague memory of us being on tour. Speaking of touring,
I'm sure I brought it on my iPad or laptop, and we probably watched it. We had to have.
Maybe. Okay. Because I think that's like the only time I've seen it.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And then Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Wow.
So there you go.
Okay.
No, you know where you know where it was showing? We were in a restaurant in Spain before our Valencia show.
Okay.
When we were in Valencia, Spain, and that was the only time I remember trying to watch. Like we were all the whole tour party. We were all there, and the promoters, and they're all talking. And I got really wrapped up in watching this movie on the screen as we were eating whatever bullshit we were eating, and I remember that because then I correlate that with fucking Scotchkas.
Really?
Yeah, because then that was the same show that afterwards when Vito made Scotchkas for the fans. Scotchkas are when you combine scotch and vodka into a glass. That's it.
Oh,
That's it.
I think Paul found all that stuff when we made them that night. That's from The Room. If you guys ever seen the movie The Room, yeah, that was a crazy night, dude.
That was when Vito was drunk and was yelling at fans. You're spilling it. What are you doing, dude? They were literally afraid.
I didn't mean it. It's just when I get drunk, I get really silly and goofy and funny. I'm not a mean drunk by far.
No,
it's
it's not that he was being mean. It's just that Vito's 6'6".
exactly. You're intimidating.
And these kids come in. I don't know if they're kids, but you know what I mean. They were young. These young fans come in, and they're first time playing this town, and they're meeting us for the first time, and they're fans, you know, and they're like, oh my God, November's doom, and everything. And they're standing there, and Vito's like handing out drinks to him. Here, have this fucking drink. And he's very loud. And then the one kid had it, and he starts spilling it. And Vito's like, what are you doing? You're spilling it. And the fucking, I think I smelled a little bit of shit. I think that guy just shit his pants a little bit. And then Vito right away was like, oh, it's cool. You know, like he was laughing, and everything was fine. But that kid just about shit his pants there. It was, yeah. It was great. But anyway, so I associate that with The Shadow.
All right.
So, because watching that, Scotchkas in The Shadow. Sorry. Anyway. Megan, I'm sure you have honorable mentions.
I
right?
have a couple here. I had Willow.
Oh,
Loved Willow growing up.
Yeah, that's a real good one.
Yeah. Dr. Sleep. No,
Oh,
I love
yeah.
that.
Wow.
When we went and saw
Real
it.
good movie.
I have this little silly romantic comedy. I didn't have any really
Okay.
in my list, but it's This Means War. It has Reese Witherspoon and Chris Pine.
Oh, that explains it.
I had Star Wars
Okay.
in mine. Pacific Rim.
Okay.
Love
That's
those.
a good one.
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh,
Love all those.
Interesting. Okay.
And Tangled.
Sure. Oh, I'm kind of surprised Tangled didn't make the list.
I know. I think I forgot about it until after it was too late.
I had a few
I
of
love
those.
that movie. So
Yeah, I had a few of those. I mean, I'm not going to go crazy with there's too many that I could list as fucking honorable mentions.
Mhm.
There's too many. There's things like Back to the Future,
mhm.
the first one. There's things like 1980s Popeye, the movie.
Yeah.
You know what? The movie's great.
God, it's
cute.
so terrible.
No, it's not.
It's enjoyable.
Robin Williams is a genius. He's so good in it. Oh, come on.
What else
man.
you got there? Like?
Anyway,
to be fair, I never seen it from beginning to end. I just saw a little bit on TV. I was
well,
like,
you
oh, this
don't
sucks,
like
but-
musicals.
No, I
anyway,
don't. That's-
so
yeah.
you know, but the musicals parts isn't even there's some of the shit that he mutters under his breath
Yeah.
is so fucking funny, man. The cast did amazing in that movie. Anyway, another one that really, really should have been on my list is 1982, 81, 82, somewhere around there. Clash of the Titans.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because man, I love my old, Greek mythology movies
Mhm.
and stuff. I could do a whole list just to those. Clash of Titans would have been on there. The old, going back to early 1960s, I would have put Jason and the Argonauts on my
Mhm.
list. Fuck, that's probably actually even better than Clash of the Titans. Really, that could have been on there. Man, again, there's so much. Animal House is another movie that really, really, I really love and I still enjoy and everything. That's an honorable mention. There's just tons of them, man. Yeah.
That remind me of old movie like 10 Commandments.
Oh,
that's a
Love
great
that.
That movie's incredible.
Yeah.
Another movie that I want to put in my honorable mentions because I've talked about it recently, and I think we talked about it in another episode, one of the other episodes of this, and I don't remember if I said it was an honorable mention or not, but it is Star Trek Nemesis. That last Star Trek movie, it's fucking phenomenal. Folks, give it a chance. It's a phenomenal movie.
I love Nemesis, dude. So many people fucking rag on that movie.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. That was the last, right, of the next gen ones. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. I watched it recently and I was like, oh, this is good. Yeah. So that's for that matter, Star Trek Nemesis, Star Trek the Motion Picture. God, I love motion picture. Wrath of Khan, and even what was the Chris Pine Beyond.
Mm-hmm.
Those all could be honorable mention ones for me. But again, now we're just getting all Trek and,
Semantics, yeah.
of course, the other Star Wars movies. That kind of goes. Marvel movies. Fuck. There's
So many great ones of those.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I said I'm not going to go crazy. But that's where it's at. I got 2 turntables and a microphone. Word.
Good old Beck.
So that's it, folks. We want to know what you all thought of our list. I can only imagine. I think so many of you are going to be making the same face that Vito made when I mentioned Popeye. I think there's going to be a lot of that. So
I predict so.
you should have just put on your fucking Cinco mask.
Yeah.
It'd be like, sounds good. I understand.
Yeah.
Sounds
Thanks
good.
for coming.
Thanks for coming. Oh my God. But yeah, leave your comments. Come join us on Facebook in the Geeking Squad group. It's free to join. Just don't be a dillweed and be respectful and don't post questionable bullshit in there. We don't care about your politics and all that shit. Come in there and let us know what you think. We want to know what your favorite movies are. And if you can explain, even better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure we're going to do some sort of like follow-up thing to this somewhere down the line where maybe we revisit it and see how much it might have changed or anything like that, Yeah, be interesting. But this has been fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's a long
Learned a lot about you guys.
Meg's like, and I'm letting everybody know that I'm flying solo.
And
from
this
now
is my last episode.
right? That better be a joke.
Peace out.
Yeah. So, all right. With that, we will see you all soon. And we have no idea what the next thing is. We got a lot of stuff to plan.
Do you guys have any suggestions?
We would love
What do we
suggestions. Yeah. It's been a while since we've gotten some suggestions. So if you have suggestions about the next topics we should focus on, we want to know that too.
Lay it on us.
Comments. Leave the damn comments, please.
But be nice.
Yeah. Be nice. Or be dog meat. I'm making a fist right now. So, all right. See you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. We're out of here. Yo, have a good night. See you, San Diego.